I was enjoying that. I was enjoying that because when I saw that first video, I was thinking about what you were saying, the yin and the yang. And I'm like, oh yeah. Why does everybody, every time I mention Notre Dame, just light up? It ain't because they love Notre Dame. It's because they hate Notre Dame.
Right. Yeah.
And Colorado, same thing.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, like, in my opinion, what else would you want? Why do people talk the way they talk and have so much conviction and passion? If you go and look at right now, the biggest thing on Twitter is Kendrick and Drake.
Yep.
And there are more people talking about or defending the reasons of why this other guy shouldn't win than why a guy actually win or won if it's over. So I think it's one of those things where I think people buy into their points of why they believe something, and if it's and if the point is contradictory towards love, then of course it's hate.
It's politics is what it is. We're not going to get into politics on the show, but I'm glad you brought up the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef. And if you're not aggressively online, you may not be aware that these two rappers are going back and forth, keep dropping diss tracks, aiming at one another. But somebody, and I wish I could give this person credit, but they put this out this weekend, and I thought it was really appropriate. They said, if you can't argue about who won based on the quality of the lyrics, or based on, like, we were just talking about the roast of Tom Brady, when we're trading diss tracks, it's really the quality of the burns contained within the diss tracks. So if you can't argue the merits of those, and it's just, I like this guy better, then don't want to argue about it, because that's all that is politics. That's my tribe versus your tribe. And I think you're right. It's with Deion Sanders, like, we try on this show to get into the merits of it. Like, here's what he's doing, we think is good. Here's what he's doing, we think is bad. But nobody wants to hear that. People have their minds made up about Deion Sanders. By the way, Kendrick won after, like, I think 6-16. Kendrick won. If we're even talking about this as a competition, it's not. I don't care one way or the other about either one of these people. It's not even close. So at least we settled that one.
Right. I'm good with that. I can go with that.
So, but with Deion, it is like he ignites this passion in people. And I got another clip from that video where you were explaining why. And I had not thought about it this way. And I really appreciate, because you grew up with like, you were in Atlanta when he was with the Falcons, like, you're a kid. So you were kind of ground zero for Deion. Like, I was in Florida when he was at Florida State, and we both got to watch him as kids. I think we both kind of felt the same way about him as a player, but I had forgotten how my parents felt about him as a player. Okay. And you reminded me of that.
One of the biggest reasons people hate Colorado is because they cannot separate Deion Sanders, the player, from Coach Prime. There's a difference, and that works in his favor and against him. But right now, we're going to talk about why it works against him. See, Deion Sanders told the NFL that nobody was going to have enough money to pay him outright, that they were going to have to put him on layaway before he even stepped on the field. That's my kind of talk. But a lot of people don't believe in that type of talk. They don't believe in high stepping into the end zone. They don't believe in playing a game for the Braves and the Falcons in the same day. See, Deion Sanders was a different type of guy. He never marched to the beat of the traditional drum. Deion Sanders had MC Hammer, the biggest star in the world, on the sidelines. Where do you think Drake gets all that from? Every team that he's going to support. Ain't nothing new under the sun. He got that from Deion. That's what MC Hammer was doing. First time we ever saw it. Falcons were back in black. Too legit to quit. Deion all in the video. Hammer all on the sideline at the playoffs. Yeah. That was Deion. So for everybody, for every kid like me who loved that, who at College Park, Little League Field, Bill Badger Field, where legends are made, where we're high stepping into the end zone, where the first time we take the helmet off and we see that steam come off, it's not a bald head, it's not a fade, it's a bandana like Deion. So for the people like that, right? That's our kind of talk. But there's a whole another section of people who don't subscribe to that.
That would be my parents.
Right.
And you're not supposed to talk like that. You can't show up the other team. Like, no. Like,
right.
I want Deion at the bottom of the hill telling the Clemson players to come down. Like, I was good with that. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I've told you this theory, but like, I don't trust corners or receivers who don't talk trash. Like, I think there might be something a little off there.
Right.
Like O-line, D-line, that's fine. You can be an introvert. It happens.
Right.
Like, I think Deion created all of this.
I mean, it's to your point. It's hard to be on an island by yourself and perform without believing that you're 1,000% better than the guy in front of you. Mm-hmm. Okay. On the flip side of that, let's say you know you aren't better than that guy. Well, the only chance you have is to try to get in his head. So I understand what you say when you say, okay, you know what? Maybe a little trash talk can get it going. But Deion trash talk at a clip, and they say, I see something, Deion's arrogance as a player at work. I get it, right? And then as a player coach, it may be different. People don't feel like you should talk before you've done anything. And that's why people feel like Deion isn't the guy. Because how is he talking already? Where does he get the audacity to say that he thought Colorado's goal should have been to make the playoffs last year when they were a 1-11 team? Why would you put that type of target on your back? But if I'm Deion Sanders, that's on brand for him. That's what he does. He believed that. And that's what I don't think people understand. People think that he was talking trash. He believed it. And so it's like when kids believe in Santa Claus. The fifth graders can't wait to go tell the third graders, hey, you were wrong. And they're going to sit there and they're going to wait until Christmas comes, and they hope that kid has a bad Christmas so they can come on January 4th when everybody gets back to school and they can say, hey, guess what, dummy? That wasn't Santa Claus. They can't wait. And for whatever reason, how can you hate on Santa Claus? But hey, people do it.
People definitely do it. But like I don't have a problem with saying our goal is to reach the playoff. I think everybody's goal is to reach the playoff. Like, we get that. My thing with Deion is, and I've seen I posted one of the comments up here that said, he doesn't respect the game. You got to win something first. And I think here it is. This is Spare Room Films. Deion's arrogance as a player works as a player coach. No, win something first, then be respectful to the sport like Kirby or Saban. After doing so, he has zero class. I don't think you have to win it. I think Deion has done enough in the sport of football to be able to say whatever the hell he wants. But I don't think he's immune to criticism. And that's where I get sideways with the Colorado fans, because they think we should just treat him with kid gloves and be like, oh, no, you're this cute little story. No. You get all this attention. You get the smoke too. Like, you can be criticized. Like, my problem is you could be the greatest recruiter of all time. You won't even do an in-home visit. Like, imagine, Dukes, if Deion recruited like Fran Brown, the new coach at Syracuse, the guy who just got hired from Georgia. Fran Brown, in the class of 2025, had 18 commitments. 18. You know why? Because he knows he can evaluate better than everybody else. People are going to cheat off his paper. He's going to get some dudes flipped. Deion has 3 right now. 3. Right. Like, Fran Brown is preparing for 2025, 2026. Deion didn't do any of that. And like, that's my thing. And it's not necessarily a respect the game thing. It's well, you're a dad too, so you understand this. Like, I've been practicing my I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. Like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Like, you could be Deion's the only guy with Nick Saban gone who could get the NIL discount. Like, a guy would come play for Deion because he's Deion. Right. All you got to do is try like these other guys try, and he won't try.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where Deion at his point right now. So we brought up Fran Brown. Okay, cool. I love Coach Brown, right? You know, came up into the Georgia system. He was one of those guys. And he really laid the groundwork. If we want to keep it a buck, he laid the groundwork for Georgia to land KJ Bolden last year. A lot that wasn't spoken about a lot, but he's an ace recruiter. And he also got a guy that Deion identified that gave him an opportunity last year on the field, and Nick Williams, the outside linebackers edge coach guy. He got him in Syracuse with him now. So shout out to Syracuse. But Fran Brown and Deion Sanders have two different things to accomplish this year. Fran Brown can plan for 2027 and 2028 because even though there was a great job done by his predecessor at Syracuse in getting them to more of a competitive level, that wasn't enough. But Fran Brown has a lot more leash or a lot more leeway when it comes to being successful at Syracuse.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Deion Sanders can be at Colorado as long as he wants.
How many press conferences have you seen about Syracuse?
Yeah, because they didn't hire Deion Sanders. Fran Brown, we don't know who he is. But Deion, but here's the thing. Deion can lose, and Colorado's not going to fire him. Like Fran Brown, if Fran Brown goes 4-8 his first 2 years, he will get fired.
I'll tell you. Well, okay. I'll tell you this. If Fran Brown makes a 3-win improvement his first year, he doesn't get fired. If Fran Brown makes a 3-win improvement, they're a 9-win team. So yeah, they're pretty good. I think most teams will take that. Okay, I'll tell you what, they won 6 last year.
Actually, no, they'd be a 10-win team. They won their bowl game. So
okay, watch. Oh, now look where Fran Brown is starting from, right? Let's say they lose 2-3 games this year. Let's say Fran Brown for kicks and giggles. And I hope this doesn't happen, and I'm pretty sure that it won't. And I think Syracuse is going to be pretty good.
I think so too.
And if Syracuse did not perform at the rate that they wanted to, Fran Brown will still have a job. Fran Brown has been planning for the future with his recruiting. Deion Sanders had to take a win now approach. Deion Sanders, another reason why this is an apple to an orange.
All right, well, I'm gonna stop you here. I'm gonna stop you because he's not the only person. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Watch this, Andy.
Okay.
Apple to an orange. Pun intended, right?
Right.
Look at the level of talent that Fran Brown inherited. A 7-win team, right? Now, I'm about to toss you a softball. Here you go, Andy. Now, Andy, tell everybody, because I know you know this. Who else started with a 1-11 team in 2023?
You set me up for this. Yeah. Okay. So there were 3 1-11 FBS teams in 2022. Colorado, Northwestern, USF.
Right. Okay.
All terrible. Horrible teams. Right. Northwestern wasn't going to fire its coach. But they did it right before camp. So the worst possible situation where the guy who was supposed to be the defensive coordinator ends up having to be the head coach, David Braun.
Right.
Northwestern won 8 games. 7-win improvement. David Braun got the permanent head coaching job because of that. Alex Golish takes over at USF, former Tennessee offensive coordinator.
Right.
They won 7 games. I think they won the bowl game. Yeah, 7 games. So they had a 6-win improvement. So Deion's actually the worst of those guys who did that. So the 3-win improvement, which is good, when compared to the other apples, is actually not that great.
I tell you what. So maybe it's not the reddest apple of the bunch, but it is still a red apple. Is a 3-win improvement still good? Now, when it's Deion Sanders, who's playing now, who's openly talked about where his expectations were for his program, right?
Yep.
It's going to sound different. We should be talking more about Alex Golish. We should be talking more about my guy at Northwestern who came in late, did a heck of a job in a really tenuous situation, right?
But we don't talk about them because they're boring. No offense to Alex Golish, who's a fun. I like Alex. No offense to David Braun. I think David Braun was like, I want to be as boring as possible in this first year. Let's just ignore all this stuff. So
tuck up in the corner.
But here's the thing: 3-win improvement is fine.
Okay.
And actually, I don't like. We'll see what USF and Northwestern do, because Northwestern, because of the way the Big Ten schedule works out, may take a step back. USF, they should take another step forward. But Colorado, we're expecting another 3-win improvement would be great. That'd be 7-5. They're in a bowl game. That would be exactly where they need to be. My thing with Colorado, and again, I'll be happy to admit I'm wrong if this doesn't work, if this is not how it works out. But the way Deion dumped a bunch of the guys he got in the portal last year, this year, suggests to me that the same thing's going to happen this year. They're going to be roughly the same team. My guess is 1 win either side of the equation, different. Probably about the same, though. And that's where it comes. Like, and here's the thing: he ain't getting fired over that, because they got Deion. They're selling tickets. Now, he may not want to deal with it, but they're not going to fire him. Like, Deion's not being held to an unfair standard. In fact, he has more leash than any of these guys at these types of programs.
I think it's not just the leash from the program. What I think it is, our leash. It's what the media puts around them. And the media is so important in politics because they shift the ideas of the people. When you hear people say, hey, such and such, this channel has fake news, depending on what party you're on. People literally watch TV based on who they believe in. They don't care about each perspective. And what I mean, and I bring that up to say this. If Deion doesn't do what people think he's supposed to do, it's going to be the number one story in sports, win or loss. Win or lose, it's going to be the number one story.
It'll be the number one story. Let's say they lose to Nebraska week 2. Like, that's going to be a huge story. But if they keep losing, like if you get to Kansas State and let's say, okay, so North Dakota State at Nebraska, at Colorado State, Baylor, Central Florida, Kansas State. Let's say they are 3-3 at the end of the first half of the season. They're not going to be a big story anymore. Like, we will stop talking about them if they keep losing. If they keep winning, we will talk about them more than we ever talked about them. And Deion will be able to say, I was right, y'all were wrong. The haters can shut up. They won't, but he'll be right. But if they keep losing, we will start to ignore them the way we always ignored Colorado.
I can't say that, because, and the reason I don't agree is because how much more losing do you want to do than what they did at the end of the year last year? And they were still.
But I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt because he took over a bad roster.
Right.
I want to see it, because that's my thing. Is I thought by this year, because of the way things were working, the rules changes and the way you could bring, like, they would probably have one of the better rosters in the Big 12. And we'll see. Like, we don't have the talent composite out yet because rosters aren't completely done. Transfer portal's not, transfer portal's closed, but guys haven't picked their places completely yet. So we'll have the talent composite out. And I'll be curious to see where Colorado lands in the talent composite.
Right.
So, but I don't think they're going to be the number one team in the Big 12. They'll probably be close.
Yeah, well, I think they do have a roster that's more of it's more competitive of a P5, P4 team this year, right?
Yeah.
I think
East Coast Kev says Prime didn't dump anybody. The majority of those kids just quit. Most of them hit the portal without trying to compete. This is a case of you listening to who you want to listen to. Of course, Prime and them are going to say they all quit, but they cut some guys. They cut a bunch of guys that they missed on last year. Like, every team does that. This is another thing you explained, Dukes. Like, we do hold Prime to a different standard as far as this goes, because every team cuts people. We just only talk about it when it's him.
Yeah, I mean, if you go down and you look in the SEC of guys who missed on guys, there were a ton of them, and a lot of guys were able to secure NIL deals that may not have been worth the bang for that particular collective's buck, because A, they didn't fit the system, or B, when they did their evaluation, they didn't take into consideration the level of play. The level of competition they were against, and when they got these guys against these real guys that they had in their own system, they didn't play. Auburn had about 4 off the top of my head, Auburn had 3 to 4 guys who barely played last year, who I know for a fact made over 6 figures in collective funds and NIL from the collective. I know this for a fact. Like, it's not even, this is a conjecture or anything.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about these guys. They talk about the guys that are reloaded. There are some guys who didn't feel like they got a fair shake when they went in there. I get it, but the Athletic isn't looking for a story, right? From guys who came from schools at SEC schools. They're looking for a story that's going to move people because they care about it, because they want a reason to go.
Because they would like people to read the story. The same reason we're talking about Deion today. We want you to watch this video.
Yeah. And you know what? I get it. So now, and this is just my opinion on what needs to happen now. If I'm Deion, if I'm Coach Prime, I lean into it. I create a me against the world mentality. And then I get these guys to focus on fundamentals. And I know for a fact Deion Sanders watched that video I had the other day. And at the end, I said that I thought that Coach Prime's secret weapon was going to be that he's going to pull off an in-home visit this year when nobody expects it. And it's going to be absolutely like a movie. I think he's going to do it. He didn't tell me he was, but he definitely did say he had some things to say. He had some critiques about what I said, and he also had some praise. And he corrected me on a few things that I'll keep between us. But what I will say is he didn't say I was wrong when I had my own personal message to what I thought it should have been. And I do think from talking to people around that program, I think they understand how heavy the situation is and what it doesn't just mean to Colorado, but what it means to every guy who grew up with that bandana on his head that does things a little bit differently, that colors outside the line a little bit. It's something for everybody. It's not just Colorado, it's the culture. And I think that it's pretty much going to continue to be the most polarizing story in college football.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.